Welcome back to the Hardwood Convos podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. I'm Brock Bierman alongside, as always, Hunter Rose, Dawson Livingston, here to talk a little bit NBA hoops here. I don't know if we'll get a whole hour episode in. I feel like, if anything, that might be next week when we preview some of the Christmas Day games, because I feel like, I don't know. For me, I always make sure that I watch at least some NBA basketball on Christmas, no matter whether the NFL is trying to take over that holiday or not. But obviously we're recording here on a Tuesday night. The NBA Cup Championship is going on, which we'll get into, kind of discussing the overall in-season tournament and our thoughts on it currently as it's in its third year, if my memory is correct. Lakers, Bucks, and then either New York or San Antonio. They're currently playing with 3:19 left in the fourth quarter. New York's up 112-107. But as always, and I'm a little worried about asking this because of the events that have went down the last, honestly, not even NBA related, the past 24 hours for both of these guys, or 48 hours, sorry. But Hunter, Dawson, how are we doing? Because I forgot, Hunter, you're a Packers fan. So are you guys just gonna not say anything?
December 14th, 2025 is gonna go down in infamy. So the worst day in sports history.
Why is that? Because the Cardinals lost? Dawson, your mic's muted, by the way.
Yeah, it is. Shoot. Silly me.
I should say Wisconsin sports history, but I'm sure Dawson would say Kansas City sports history.
Dude,
I would say Arizona sports history, but
this guy.
The day Dawson's preseason Super Bowl pick went up in flames. Shout out the Chiefs, shout out the Packers.
Yeah, Hunter, he picked both.
That's brutal.
Bofa.
Brutal.
Time to put on a brave face. I'm already in the baseball mindset, dude. The Royals are making moves. I'm ready for opening day.
Shout out Isaac Collins.
Yeah, dude.
Nick Mears.
Royal. You can have Anthony Zerpa.
Let's go, Dodgers.
Shut up.
Get out of here.
Shut up. You don't count.
What? What are you talking? My Dodger jersey has been hanging in my cubicle. Cubicle.
I'm not saying you're a fake Dodgers fan. I'm saying you're a Dodgers fan, so that makes your opinion irrelevant.
So, Sai's a Dodgers fan. I got Sai to put on my Dodgers jersey. It was great. Or I got a Sai. I got a Sai like little standy thing to put on my Dodgers jersey. But yeah, see, I'm a Dodgers fan. I swear.
Shout out,
Timmy Trumpet's gonna be blaring in Dodger Stadium in no time.
Sports suck.
What even is a ball?
Hey, Hunter, it's we're state champs.
Yeah.
I often wonder, what do people that don't watch sports do with their life? But then I realize, like, the moment I'm in right now, they're probably a lot happier. They're enjoying their life a lot more than I am right now. This last 7 days has sucked. Okay.
I don't know. Some people obsess over the Marvel universe and then see certain teases, whether or not they're AI generated or not. And
they're still happier than what I am right now.
Maybe. I don't know. I definitely could see where there's a equivalent to how you're feeling in that world, but it's interesting time in sports because I'm not motivated, not motivated, but like anticipating or looking forward to anything professional sports wise because the Celtics are just kind of meh. They've proven that they'll compete, but in the Eastern Conference, but like it's the Eastern Conference, and then the Cardinals aren't doing anything. But college wise, I'm doing fine, but you guys, I guess Hunter's enjoying the college game.
That's it. That's all I got right now.
Dawson can enjoy watching the slowest offense and offense on both college football and basketball.
At least it matches up, dude. When Fran was with us, we scored 95. We gave up to 120. Okay.
Yep.
It just didn't match the football team. At least it's consistent across the board. That's all I ask for.
Yep. But let's get into a little bit of this NBA world as we are recording here on December 16th, a week or a little over a week away from Christmas, which NBA's biggest day in the regular season, I feel like, is Christmas, or depending on who you ask, probably the commissioner would say probably today is the biggest day of their regular season because they have their NBA Cup finishing up the in-season tournament that they started 3 years ago. As I mentioned before, the Knicks and Spurs are playing. There's 144 left. It kind of looks like New York is probably going to end up pulling away from this, but you can't, it's the NBA. You can't think that a game is completely over until the clock hits 0. But I'm not going to lie. This year was interesting for me as a fan, as a viewer of this product about this tournament, because it kind of snuck up on me before we even started recording. I knew that the Spurs and Knicks were playing. I was confused why it was only one game tonight. And then come to find out that it was the NBA Cup championship. And I was like, oh, okay. So that happened. I knew I did watch some, some of the NBA Cup games in terms of like the leading up, the pairings and all that, because good Lord, some of those courts were atrocious to watch. But I did watch some of those games, but it just felt weird to me. Like this, it didn't feel the same as the last 2 years. Obviously, the first year I was like, oh, it's a brand new product. It's very entertaining, all that stuff. I also think, Hunter, I know you may not agree with me, but I also think that the fact that the Pacers were that was their first little mini run that they had as a team during that time may have brought a little bit of enjoyment to that, because it was like, ooh, a different team that we haven't seen compete in the NBA before. Then the next year, the Bucks win it, and it was fun to watch. This year, again, it caught me off guard. Literally had no idea that it was going on tonight in terms of like the championship. I knew they were promoting it. I just didn't know that this was it. And it looks like Hunter just lost his internet. He sent us a text. But Dawson, I guess getting your perspective here, were you caught off guard with how quickly the NBA Cup kind of came into play?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of how it always feels for me in the NBA. Like, I guess as a fan of football, like I'm so like wired in on like NFL from the months of September to like mid-January, and by the time like conference championship game is for the NFL, I finally start to like open my eyes, because then for the NBA cycle, we're closer to the deadline, we're closer to the All-Star game, we have All-Star voting, we have like all the extra stuff like the dunk contest, 3-point contest. So I'm not in the NBA mindset right now, but you mentioned it. I had no idea until we started recording that this game was going on. It's crazy. We all thought it was a good product, and it's still like not a terrible idea. It's just like the courts are
terrible.
They're just such a turnoff when it comes to like visual appeal, that I'm not going to say that's the sole reason I don't watch like some of these NBA Cup games, because frankly, I have other issues with the NBA with how like they like divvy up their games on like local markets, and if you don't have the league pass, you can't like watch any of your favorite teams' games. But that's really besides the point. But yeah, I had no idea. I didn't even know the games that happened Saturday, the semifinal games, even took place. But yeah, it's a cool concept. It's just I feel like the NBA doesn't do a great job of it, like promoting it, if that makes sense. Because it should not take like the average NBA fan to realize, oh, it's like the NBA Cup championship today. And for it being on a Tuesday, I also feel like it's kind of a weird schedule thing, but I know they don't want to have it too close to Christmas, but those are kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah. I personally, and I don't know how you would work it into play because of the All-Star break and other things going on, but really the NBA Cup should be going on either the week of the first like major games, like the with the pairings and all that. I feel like the week of the Pro Bowl really should be the first week, and then like wrap it up the week before the NCAA tournament starts. So like either conference championship week of NCAA basketball or even the week before that. I don't know how that would all work schedule wise, but like during that time you have, okay, the Super Bowl in the next week, but outside of that you have just major college basketball games going on, and you either love college basketball or you don't. I feel like there actually like is surprisingly a large amount of people that don't watch just random college basketball games. That's not what I like doing. I love every Saturday quad boxing whatever games I can get, even if it is like Oral Roberts versus Iona on a neutral site court in Kentucky for whatever reason. I like if I can watch college basketball, I will. But also like if I have meaningful NBA games going on in February, sign me up. Like I think maybe moving it to February. Again, I don't know how you would do that all in a month, but like moving it to February might be a good idea.
Yeah, because again, I'm not the only person, and you probably are in similar thinking as me. Like our minds are so football until like the NFL playoffs. Because now with the CFP, like college games don't get done until like that third week of January anymore.
Yep.
So like we're still watching football all the way until that third week of January. And it feels like this product would have a lot more success if they like really dominated a window when there wasn't any football going on. Maybe it is that week between conference title game for the NFL and the Super Bowl, because there's kind of that down week in sports where it's just mainly college basketball and NBA basketball. Like that's pretty much it. Or like you said, which I kind of like, maybe substitute this instead of the All-Star game, because the All-Star game anymore is a joke.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah, you could just get rid of that All-Star weekend entirely, still have like All-Star voting, because NFL Pro Bowl is kind of a joke. We all realize that, but NFL Pro Bowling still matters because that's like accolades that you can get bonuses for in your contracts, and it like boosts your resume like when you want to go to the Hall of Fame. So like the voting should still matter, but like no one watches either the Pro Bowl or the All-Star game, and I feel like it could work hand in hand. It'd be like the NBA's first big moment after the Super Bowl. It's like, hey, we're gonna put our best product on display. So yeah.
And like honestly, you could still keep the All-Star festivities, not including the game, involved with this. Like it could be just called NBA Cup weekend or something like that, where it all leads up to the final thing being the NBA Cup championship. Like, so in this situation, it would have been New York and San Antonio on, let's say Saturday night, either Saturday or Friday, Sunday night. But like the night before or the night, like you can still do the Rising Star Challenge. You can still do all the dunk contest, the 3-point contest. It looks like Hunter might finally be back. There he is. Hunter, we're just kind of talking about the NBA Cup, and I'll get back to my point later. But the NBA Cup, and if it kind of snuck up on us, and what are your thoughts on kind of where it is currently, both as a quality of product and where it's located on the calendar?
Yeah. I think quality of product wise, I think it's okay. I do think, I don't know. I think I might. This year is also different because my team actually did horrible, which has not happened thus far. And even then they were still like they were okay, but not great. But overall, I think it is a little. I don't know if it's grown stale quick. I think the biggest thing though is especially in the NBA, like when you compare like NBA talk with NFL talk or MLB talk or even NHL talk, like I feel like the conversations between divisions and like the meaning of it just doesn't exist for the NBA. And I think the easy fix for that and for the NBA Cup would just be to make the groups the divisions, because that actually gives more value even to those games. And so I think that's like the easiest thing that I can think of for increasing it. But other than that, like I still think players overall care about it. Seemingly, I mean, you still have teams that play down to, the last bucket, things like that. Definitely crept up on me though, because just kind of felt like by the time the fifth, like the final group play games happened, I was like, oh, like that's it. Like we're into the tournament now. So I think that's where I'm at with that. But overall, it did feel maybe a little bit staler this year compared to the past couple of years.
So Dawson and I started talking, and I think Dawson, you can correct me if we're wrong, but we almost kind of came down to somewhat of an agreement that they need to potentially move it, because right now most people are on football mode, like football, whether it's college, whether it's pro. I mean, the college football playoff is longer now. Games are this week, and they will be going into January. Then you got the Super Bowl that's pretty much in February now all the time because of the new schedule. We came up with this idea of starting the group play around the Pro Bowl time, because you got that week of like nobody's watching NFL that week except for like previewing the Super Bowl matchups, because the Pro Bowl does not matter in terms of like the quality of product that they're putting up on TV, whatever the events. And then you can end this whole thing. And I don't know if it's logistically possible with how quick a month can go by, especially in February. You can either end it the week of college basketball conference championships or the week before that, because you look at it and at that point you got the Super Bowl the next week, which is fine because you can just play fewer games that week. But then after that, you got just college basketball games. And like Dawson and I, we discussed, you either love college basketball or you don't. You either watch it or you don't. There is no like, well, they're on. I feel like the NBA may have a little bit more of that in terms of like, well, I mean, the Lakers are playing, so I'll just tune in to watch them. So they may have that little bit of advantage. And Dawson came up with the idea of doing this in place of the All-Star game, which I love even more, because the All-Star game has it's really stale compared to the NBA Cup. And then we kind of worked in through this, and that's where I came up with my point when you joined back. But you could almost merge this with All-Star Weekend, get rid of the All-Star game, but you can keep everything else that's a part of the All-Star Weekend, and it still leads up to a game, but the game matters, and it's an NBA Cup. So you can still have the Rising Star Challenge. You can still have the three-point dunk contest, all that stuff. The Skills Challenge, I think, is what they have. You can still have all that, and whether that means it leads up to the game on Sunday night or Saturday night, you can still do all that. But like the final thing of that weekend, you can call it NBA Cup weekend, is the NBA Cup championship. And again, I don't know if that will make it a better product or if more people will enjoy it, whatever. But I think that would be just a better All-Star break than what the NBA All-Star is right now, as well as where it'll be better for the NBA Cup, because I feel like there will be definitely more eyes on it and more people at least aware of what's going on.
Here's my thing with it. Like, I think like Hunter said, we have, like, the premise of it is good because the players actually care about this, which is like first and foremost, like that needs to be at the forefront, because if the players don't care, then the product is worse and the fans won't care, and so on and so forth. But I feel like as a fan, like Hunter, correct me if I'm wrong, my team has not won the NBA Cup, so I do not know the feeling of what like what it is. But like as a fan, it's just like, okay, there's not really an incentive as a fan to be like, yeah, my team won the NBA Cup. I feel like there could be an additional incentive, because I know all the players get money. Like if they win, it's like an extra like $1 million a player or something along the lines of that, if you end up winning the whole thing. But I feel like you could make this pretty cool where it's like, if you win the NBA Cup, you get an extra first round pick, or you get an extra mid level exception to use for the following season, or you get 2 second round picks. Like, I feel like you could make this more engaging, if that makes sense, for fans. Because I think if fans realize that, like, hey, if our team wins the whole thing, it's like we could have pick 31, which pick 31 typically isn't a great pick, but you could move it to potentially go up in the draft, move down. We've seen plenty of second round picks do really well in the NBA. Jalen Brunson, Draymond Green, just to name a few. Like, something where it's like you could have the fans like want to have their team win the NBA Cup, because it feels like right now, like, fans are like, yeah, that's cool, but it's like the fans get no enjoyment out of that, if that makes sense.
You want to get the players even more involved? Go MLB style. The winner, if we did the thing where it's interdivision and all that, and it still ends up with East versus West in the championship, winning team decides who gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. So, like, if it is a God forbid, if it's a Charlotte Hornets versus Phoenix Suns NBA Cup championship, you still got Luka Doncic, who cares a ton about what happens in this game, because, yes, it's one more home game, but still, it can swing from like a 6 seed team being in a complete disadvantage against a 1 seed in the finals, or they might have the advantage because their home court is just that much of a deal for them, like the Lakers, or I don't know, the Thunder, if the Thunder were never if they had a down year or whatever. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate it to make it more like enticing to watch, or entertaining, or more impactful for the entire league as a whole. But I don't know. I don't know. This year was just like, oh, it's tonight, and the Knicks ended up winning 124 to 113. But like, yay! All right, back to the regular season. That's how it feels right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's definitely a way to make it incentivized more. I think, kind of like what Dawson said, I think that's probably the biggest thing. It'll be hard to weigh. I think the hardest thing to weigh is just like how much of an advantage can you give, you know? Because at the end of the day, it's like, if a team, it is like a championship game, which is why it is a big deal, but it's a matter of weighing, like, you know, for example, if you were to look at this year, the Knicks just won, right? Let's say the Thunder go on and have a historic, like, you know, 75 win season, right? Make it to the finals, and then it just doesn't matter, you know, anymore. Then it's just like, oh, you won 75 games, which probably would help out in the playoffs, obviously, in the Western Conference. But then you get to the finals, and let's say they go up against, I don't know, let's say they go up against the Knicks here, right? Or they go up against, I don't even know what other East team there could be, to be honest. That's the hard thing, probably the hardest thing within this idea. But essentially, it like doesn't matter. They're the 175 games because one game decided it. So at the end of the day, one game decides a lot of things, but it'll be kind of like weighing both of those things that can make it difficult.
I feel like you could also have it where, like, okay, if you win the NBA Cup, you're guaranteed a top 4 seed in your conference. Granted, this gets like a little in the gray area of like what the college football playoff was last year, where it's like, do we really think Boise State should be getting a first round bye? Like, do we really think they're one of the 4 best teams, or are we just doing this because it's automatic bids and stuff like that? But having that incentive where you at least guarantee yourself a round 1 home court advantage in the playoffs, which maybe if it's the Thunder that wins it, maybe that's like no one's going to care because they're obviously going to probably get home court advantage anyway. But if it's like a team on the bubble, so like maybe it's a team like Philadelphia, who right now like sitting on the 6th seed, that could guarantee them home court, which would then potentially have them playing the Magic instead of having them play the Raptors right now. Or if it's a team out west, maybe, heck, the Phoenix Suns, the frisky Phoenix Suns, they go out there and win the NBA Cup. And instead of being the 7 seed and having to play the 2 seed Denver Nuggets in round 1, they are the 4 seed and get to play either the Houston Rockets or the Minnesota Timberwolves, which still tough opponents, but not nearly as tough as Denver. I think we would all agree. But I just think having something more engaging for the fans to root for would make this so much better. And I think the timing of it is like as poor of like scheduling as the NBA could do. Because like we said, CFP games start this Friday. NFL playoffs start 3 weeks from now. Like people are going to be in the football mindset for the next month.
Yep.
And the NBA is just they're screwed for the next month and a half. So.
Yep. Step one they need to do is get rid of those courts.
I don't think Adam Silver's gonna like that. But
has there been one court that has been designed so far that you guys are like, I like that? First of all, they're all the same design. It's just a different color.
I honestly haven't hated the Bucks this past year. I do think it could be way better. I think keeping it simple is probably more of the route that should be taken than anything else.
I don't like the solid color idea. You could do so many designs inside the paint.
The Lakers got rid of theirs.
It was unplayable.
Well, they didn't have a choice on that one.
But like you could do so many like interesting designs like inside the paint. I mean, you could even do like a thing that looks like they burnt the wood into a design and keep the normal like the typical court hardwood color that you would see at an NBA basketball court. You can do an alternate logo at the center court. I feel like there's many different things that you can do that are not 3 stripes, 2 of them being the same color, and 1 of them just being a lighter version of that said color, and then calling it a day. Because it just looks. First of all, some of them like you cannot watch. Like it's hard to watch because of how bright or how like terrible it looks. And then other things is like it just looks awkward. It just doesn't look like I'm watching a pro sporting event. It looks like I'm watching the Harlem Globetrotters play basketball.
Yeah, some of these are just I got them all pulled up right in front of me. They're just some of them are either just gray and they're boring and it's like no one wants to watch a gray basketball court, or the colors are so bright that you can't even like focus on the actual game. Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The reds specifically are the reds and the yellows.
Yeah, there's 8 courts that are just gray, like that are just like a gray color. They're a different shade of gray, but they're the same thing essentially.
Yep.
And then you have like Minnesota, which is that like bright neon green, or like what the Lakers one was supposed to be, like bright yellow. Like that is gross. Like dude, that just hurts the eyes.
Minnesota, they need to go back to the and maybe they have. Minnesota needs to go back to the Prince style alternate jerseys or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? The purple rain.
They have those are good. Like them. Mm-hmm.
Are they bringing them back?
They have them like as unis that they use. Yeah.
Because those are like some of the coolest. I don't know. I think they're cool looking jerseys. Mm-hmm. And like I think they even like did an alternate court or whatever, and it looked super cool.
You could also, if you wanted to, I know that like the NBA has like a cycle of like teams that are allowed to use like throwback jerseys. But why not have like the NBA Cup be an opportunity for you to like bring some throwbacks out? Like, because I know Cleveland this year just brought back the blue like script Cleveland jerseys from when LeBron was first there like 15, 20 years ago. And those look super clean. Like I love the court. I think everything about that is super clean. Why you couldn't do that instead of this like this nasty brown color, brown and black? Like it's just super gross. Like I feel like you could make this really cool, but I feel like the NBA is just
they're trying too hard. Yeah, with some of these things.
Trying too hard, but not trying hard enough, if that makes sense. They're trying too hard with the colors and stuff, but the design of these courts is just bland. Like something that like I could whip up in Canva in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
So
good. Yeah, it's something for sure. Really, the only other thing that I was going to talk about today, and I think Dawson, you said you had a list of the players, but there's a list of players now after December 15th, so yesterday, that are now eligible for trades.
Yep.
Do you want to kind of go through those? I don't know if there's really anything to talk about these, but
no, some of these names won't really matter. They don't these guys aren't going to probably get moved, but some of them are. It's something to note. These go from the most expensive contract to just the lower contracts. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Julius Randle, Miles Turner, Fred VanVleet, Duncan Robinson, Q Alexander-Walker, Karis LeVert, Dame, Dennis Schroeder, Bobby Portis, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Those are just the first 10, 12 names that are on this list. Other names to note that are now eligible to be traded. Ty Jerome, DeAndre Ayton is now. Cam Thomas, who's a restricted free agent, or I think was a restricted free agent. Clint Capella, D'Angelo Russell, Bradley Beal, Marcus Smart. Just a lot of guys like that were signed in the offseason that are now eligible to be traded. And I think there's another deadline in February for some guys that are allowed to be traded. But at least the James Harden one, with how bad this Clippers season's going, that's not nothing.
Get ready to learn Milwaukee basketball.
No. No.
Even Portis.
I was going to see, even if it means Bobby Portis is out.
No. That fixes nothing.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis and Miles Turner for James Harden. Who says no faster?
Me. I do. Can't know fast enough.
Oh God. But yeah. The other one that's kind of noteworthy, the Fred VanVleet contract. Houston's doing good this year, and that's a pretty hefty contract that you could use.
Can you trade someone that's injured though?
I think you can. It's not like 2K.
That's why
I just remember in 2K you were never allowed to trade someone that was hurt. That was always infuriating in rebuilds. But if they wanted to package Fred VanVleet and maybe one of their bench guys and a couple picks for whatever picks they have left to maybe get a healthy point guard, i.e. James Harden. I'm not saying not, but I don't know. Something to note. To not do my Brian Windhorst thing of. But yeah, that's really all I have from this list.
Anything to note there from you, Hunter, at all?
I was really hoping the Bucks would start aggressively pursuing some people, but when the list of names of players that have been in talks for that include Zach LaVine and I mean Herb Jones I'd be okay with, but John Morant, just stop, please don't. Jeremy Grant, please don't. That
4 years ago, Jeremy Grant was the greatest asset anyone could have. Yeah. And then he played basketball for the Blazers.
And then they were like, "Oh, wait a second."
In case you're wondering, Thanasis is available to trade now.
That is.
Where's he at? Is he still in Milwaukee?
Milwaukee.
Also, Chris Paul is available to be traded now. So this whole saga with the Clippers.
He hasn't been officially cut.
No, he's still on the roster as we speak. So if the Clippers wanted to do him right, which they won't, but if they did, trade him.
I've seen some posts where people said that they're no longer Clippers fans because of everything that's went down.
Rightfully so.
And we talked about the drastic consequences that could come from this. Just some other notes going into this week, or just in the NBA. The Knicks, like we just mentioned, won the NBA Cup, the NBA in-season tournament. They're currently won 9 of their last 10 games, and then they're moving their way up closer and closer to the Detroit Pistons, who have won 7 of the last 10. But are still 3 games above, or 2.5 games, I guess, above New York in the Eastern Conference standings. Other teams in terms of the Eastern Conference, the Celtics have kind of moved up recently, starting to catch their stride. Jaylen Brown's averaging 29 points a game. I think Hunter, you mentioned, I think it was either you or Dawson, but like one of the best offenses numbers wise in the last how many games?
Points the last 2 weeks. So it'd be about like 6 games.
So the last 2 weeks, points. Number one offense, or one of the best offenses, but one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah, they have. Let me pull it up here again. And points per 100 possessions are currently sitting at number 1 at just shy of 130. But for points allowed per 100 possessions are bottom 5 at 120.
Which is to show you how bad of a turnaround, like drastic jump that has been. They're still they're still the best team in the Eastern Conference right now in terms of opponents' points per game at 110. So the last 2 weeks have just been absolute trash on the defensive side of the ball. But then you got, I guess kind of going back to the top 4 of the Eastern Conference, anything to mention? Do you guys still think the Pistons are the team to beat, or is New York coming for them?
Can both teams stop? Like I could care less for either of these teams. Are you kidding me?
What about the Raptors?
You know what? The Raptors could be the first seed. I could care less for either of the top 2 seeds.
I think it's so interesting that
one employs JB Bickerstaff and the other is the Knicks, and I can't. I can't.
And then the 3rd seed currently is the team with my favorite player in the NBA. And I mean, I'm still blown away that the Raptors are currently, and we're a week away from Christmas, which I feel like is a good benchmark for how we kind of look at the NBA season. But they're the 3rd seed if the NBA playoffs started today. They've
kind of tailed off though in the last
4. I mean, they've lost 6 of the last 10, but it's still kind of crazy though that we're even talking about this. I would have guessed they wouldn't even be in the play-in right now, but here they are. The Magic and 76ers are the last 2 teams in terms of not needing to worry about the play-in as of right now. If the NBA playoffs started at the 5 and 6 position. Ooh. And then the play-in area, you got the Cavs, the Hawks, the Heat, and the Bucks.
That's a group of teams.
That's.
You want me to just move on to the West?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about either Hunter or my team.
It's gonna be a quick episode, I have a feeling.
Yeah, it is.
Oklahoma City is by far the best team in the league, especially in the West. Only 2 losses to their name, and haven't lost at home, by the way, this season. 12-0 on their home court, at least I think, unless the numbers are misleading me here. Well, let me double check because I think they might be.
Nope, they're undefeated.
Yep, undefeated at home. Because the other one was NBA Cup semifinals.
Yeah,
that one I was trying to figure out what they're.
Vegas.
Yep. Then you got Denver, who not Dawson, Hunter loves talking about at the 2 seed. 7 of the last 10 have been wins for them, along with the Lakers right behind them, only a game behind them. And then you got the 4 through 6 positions of the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Timberwolves. And then you got a mixture of teams in the play-in and then the teams outside the play-in. I guess anything that you guys want to talk about, any teams you guys want to talk about? We could talk about Cooper Flagg being the youngest player to ever hit 40 points a game in one game in NBA history, but I don't feel like there's been too many major topics in the NBA outside of really the NBA Cup going on right now, which again came out of nowhere for me. But yeah, anything that you guys want to mention?
I think this is just the worst NBA season ever, personally. No bias whatsoever. But yeah, I think overall, when you look at the West standings, I feel like it's hard to not see a polar bear in Arlington, Texas, with the Phoenix Suns sitting at 7th. That's pretty that kind of surprises me a bit for how obviously, the Clippers are vastly underperforming, like compared to like preseason, predictions, things like that. Arguably, the Kings should be a little bit better. I thought the Trailblazers were going to be quite a bit better, but the fact that they are above the Warriors and the Grizzlies, and obviously the Grizzlies have, been a little bit of a mini dumpster fire, but have looked better in the last few games at least. But yeah, the fact that they're like teetering right there. I mean, the rest of the pack's quite a bit ahead of them. I don't think they're going to be getting much higher than that 7 spot by any means. But it is surprising that they're able to sit up there. I believe it's Colin Gillespie's been playing pretty well. I think that probably has a big part to do with it. He is an absolute sniper this season. I don't really want to talk about Dylan Brooks, but he's honestly been doing not too bad when he's not costing them the game against the Lakers. But yeah, overall, I'd say they're probably like the most surprising on a positive note group out of these teams. But yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting race looking at this. I feel like looking at these standings a month from now, I could see them sitting the exact same, but also the exact same in like where they are and how many games back they are from each other. That'll then make the end of the season just that much more entertaining.
The one team that I am like, I don't know, like truly how to read them is the Lakers. Like, they have a good record. Don't get me wrong. They're 18-7, good enough for third in the West right now. And the stat I'm about to read doesn't mean everything, but it's noteworthy. But they have like a not great point differential. And that doesn't mean anything because in the NFL, the Chiefs have a point differential of plus 70 and they just got eliminated from the playoffs. So I'm not saying that's like the end all be stat, but like they have a worse point differential than the 4 seed, the 5 seed, the 6 seed, and they're just 0.4 of a point higher than the 8 seed. Their point differential is only 1.6. So they're winning close games, which they have Luka and they have Austin Reeves and they have LeBron. So they have like guys that can get buckets down the stretch, and they've been playing well, but you wonder if that can like continue. That makes sense. Like if the Lakers will eventually like get into like maybe a January or February slump where they're not winning that many of those close games that they have been winning thus far. But other than that, I mean, the Wizards are still the Wizards.
It's good to have a welfare check on the Wizards for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, how I would always bring up the Panthers on the Between the Hashes every freaking year. We always got to talk Wizards every once in a while. But, yeah.
Yeah, we keep mentioning about how everybody's kind of all in on football right now. If you're looking for a NFL podcast to listen to, we got the Between the Hashes podcast. Probably already, this week's episode is probably already up, talking about all the injuries and all the aftermath that has happened off of this past week of NFL football, and then also previewed, the what would happen if all the games that we predicted go the way that we think, what the playoffs would look like. And it's not as chaotic as it was 2 weeks ago when we did it the first time, because a lot of teams that we thought based off of our predictions that would make it have since been eliminated from playoff contention. So, but yeah, if you're looking for an NFL podcast, feel free to tune into that one this week.
For the listeners out there, sorry, and then you can
go
wrap up. We do these recordings so we can post them later in the week. These aren't live. Shocker, I know. I know.
Luka could be traded right now, and we don't even know.
Yeah,
because like we could be live right now, either Wednesday or Thursday this week, and Luka just got traded while this is technically live, but we won't actually like be able to react because it's
right. But so we have to come up with recording names, and I thought it'd be funny in the episode that we recorded earlier tonight, Between the Hashes, and it's just Dawson is sad, and Brock thought it'd be a great idea to put this episode's title as Hunter is sad. So
yeah, and we when you actually are watching this episode, the name might be different, but we always just name them just based off of we name the recordings based off of like just random things all the time.
Yeah, But next episode will be Brock is sad. When the
I hope
Celtics-
not.
Did the Celtics play on
I hope
Christmas
not.
Day?
No.
Oh, they don't?
No. I mean, I can go on my rant right now about how I think the NBA has been too worried about the NBA Cup, and they have, because of that, ruined Christmas Day. But I think that might be a next week episode.
You know, I have a strange feeling the NBA is going to recapture Christmas Day this year with how bad the NFL games are going to be this year.
What are you talking about? I think the Chiefs game would be good.
Yeah, dude. I love Gardner Minshew, dude. Minshew Mania.
That was a great throw to Travis Kelce.
Oh, dude, it was the best. And I got 31-year-old Kareem Hunt, dude.
I've never seen a pass that looked like it was supposed to go 50 yards, go 10 yards right into a defender. Because the way it was like lobbed, it looked like it was supposed to go farther. But hey,
so happy.
Hey, if you guys want Jacoby Brissett and you want him to throw 40 to 50 times a game,
he can't be worse.
Yeah, I guess you're not wrong. I as a Cardinals fan, I appreciated the Colt McCoy era, but I guess I can settle with the Jacoby.
You guys have had some. I know this isn't a football podcast, but you guys have had some crazy backup quarterbacks. I think Drew Stanton was your quarterback for a while. Oh God, who else? Was Trace McSorley? Did he ever suit up?
I think he suited up. I don't know if he actually played, but yes, Trace McSorley was on
investigative research
on the team.
That's the last I'll talk football on this one.
Hunter, any final thoughts in the NBA before we sign off?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up a question, kind of to revisit some previous short conversation at least. So obviously we have players that are now eligible to be traded, which kind of honestly not many huge trades really happen until we get into like the final week of the trade deadline. But nonetheless, I mean, even for example, I feel like the Luka trade happened like a week before the deadline. If I remember right, I think the Kyrie to Dallas trade happened like a month before the deadline. It might have been shorter than that. I'm probably misremembering, but definitely wasn't like at the deadline, I don't think. And usually we have some role players that get traded here and there. But as you guys look at the standings, or even just kind of think about where teams are at, and I have a very biased answer, so I'm going to do my best to not answer a certain way and go on a tangent. What team, and this can be from either conference or just first team that comes to mind, what team do you feel needs to make a move the fastest? Whether it's to put themselves in a contending spot, which is probably the more likely answer, or to kind of start selling. And that one's probably, to be honest, I think selling's less of a priority before the deadline. I think most teams wait until then. So what team that's probably contending would need to make a move the fastest?
That's a good question.
Brock, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
You go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if you consider this team contending, quote unquote, but the team I think that needs to make a move because I feel like they could contend if they made the right move is Atlanta. I feel like Atlanta, sitting at the 8th seed right now, I feel like they could be doing a lot better. Granted, they're only a half a game back from being the 3 seed right now in the East, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they're like a sleeper team to like acquire Anthony Davis if the Mavericks like truly wanted to trade him. And I don't know. I just feel like they have the picks, they have the assets to make a blockbuster move. Hawks. I don't know if it's gonna be like a huge trade like Anthony Davis, like I just mentioned, or if it's just acquiring another point guard to help out Trae Young. But it just feels like Atlanta is just sitting in no man's land right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, especially the way Jalen Johnson's been playing this year. Like, I feel like you definitely have to look with him playing the way he is and with Trae Young being out. Even before Trae Young got hurt, he really wasn't playing up to the Trae Young offensive standards that we're used to. So I think I would agree with that. And I mean, hey, I don't think you trade him, but there's a world where the way Nickeil Alexander-Walker's been playing, use the stats he's been having to bring in maybe somebody else. I don't think they do that. I think you keep him. But nonetheless, you have a bunch of young guys that are kind of right now on the make or break that you could probably get some other teams to bite on a little bit and make something happen.
For me, this is a tough one because I think a lot of teams are in a situation where they have to win with the roster they have, or I don't know what more they can do. A team for me I would like to see make a move because I'm interested to see what they could get in return is Toronto, honestly, because they have a lot of players playing the same position. They're all playing well. Don't get me wrong. They're all playing really well. But, like, I don't know. I kind of want to see what a team would look like in Toronto with Scotty Barnes being, given the keys to be the franchise player, but also, like, building a team around him versus, like, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, all those guys playing the same position almost. And I don't know if it would work. What would the return be? All that stuff, but that's a team I would looked at. And then I know, like Hunter, you said you wanted to keep you were going to try to not to be so biased, but like honestly, Boston for me, I'm interested because like right now they're built. Right now, anything that they're doing is actually not for this year. Unless some miracle happens and all of a sudden Tatum's back and they're contending for a championship, blah blah blah. But like I feel like right now everything that they're doing is actually for the purpose of building towards next year. And whether that means they can actually trade some of these guys mid-season for an asset that could later on be an X factor for them, who knows? But that's another team that I had on my mind. But yeah, Toronto, not necessarily because I think they need to, but just because I'm interested to see what a roster would look like where there's not 5 small forwards leading the team and everything.
Yeah, I do think Toronto's definitely a tough one. Because I feel it's such a hard thing when you have a team that's really playing, and this is not to upset any Toronto fans out there, but playing above their standard.
All 4 of them.
Yeah, like really playing above their standard. Like I don't, I know there were some believers out there, not saying you didn't have anything to believe in, but to be sitting at 3rd in the Eastern Conference probably was not on the, this is definitely going to happen this year. The prediction. And because of that, it's hard to be like, yeah, we need to break this up. But like you said, at the same time, it's like if they're sitting at the 3 seed right now, and especially coming off like a 4 or 5 game skid, it's like that does show there's at least some holes somewhere. And so maybe you try to make a move that brings in like maybe whether it's another number 2 scorer. I mean, heck, especially for how well they're able to distribute the ball. I personally would not bring him in, but do you go and get somebody like Zach LaVine, who's kind of just a bucket getter? Granted, that's going to break the flow of your offense probably, so that's why I wouldn't do it. But nonetheless, something like that could be helpful. But yeah, I think similarly, not to be too biased, I feel like if you are Jonathan Horst, you have to be on every phone call possible right now if it's not involving finding a new head coach. But I think when I look at the other teams here, I mean, like I've kind of said, I don't think right now is probably the time for teams to really start selling hard, but I see no reason why the Sacramento Kings still have the roster that they do. There is no point. They have the worst offense in the NBA, in my opinion. That's including team, at this point, like they've won 6 games. Like it's much worse than even I would have thought before looking at the standings. Like they are the bottom of the barrel. This is no longer this is cute. I mean, they're like, almost in the play-in. No, it's out the window. We're gone. I feel like you have to start dumping some pieces, and especially if you have teams that are biting. But as I think about teams that are maybe more on the contending side of things, I would be really interested. This is before even looking at what they really have to offer, but I'm really interested to see if Golden State's going to do anything, especially with the Kuminga situation just getting weirder by the day. And overall, they really just have not been playing that well. And that's kind of been the MO for Golden State in the past few years, is being really, really good and then being really, really bad, and then being really, really good for like the last 2 months of the season, and then everyone's high on him again. But especially with, the Jimmy Butler stuff last year, I feel like they're not afraid to pull the trigger. I don't feel like they should be afraid to pull the trigger again. It's like, do you, try to bring in like a different number 2 kind of guy? Do you try to bring in like an actual number 3 on the team? Is it time to finally admit that Bajemski's just not a good basketball player and you try to convince somebody else that he is? I think there's a lot of potential things that they could try and do to maybe salvage the season a little bit and go from that, middle of the play-in to actually maybe being in that like 5 or 6 range potentially. So.
You know who else may need to blow up their roster? Charlotte.
There was some weird LaMelo stuff like a month ago, maybe, but then I got confirmed that it wasn't really true. But
well, was it their last game? I think it was one of their last games that they won. Maybe it was the Cavs game, I'm thinking, where LaMelo didn't play like the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, and the Hornets were down double figures, and Colin Sexton was in, and the Hornets ended up coming back to win.
Him and Brandon Miller both at some points have been benched during some very crucial points in games, which a year ago would have been like blasphemous.
Yeah,
he's not been that good this year.
They're a mess. Point blank. Dawson's laughing.
I'm laughing at something else. I'll tell you guys when we're done.
All right. Well, any final thoughts from you guys before we sign off here? Are we good to sign off? Talked a little bit about the NBA Cup, what they can do to maybe improve it. I think having it in February is pretty much the best option, or that week before, at least the championship game, the week before conference tournament time for NCAA basketball, and then maybe adding more stakes to it with the winning conference gets home court advantage for the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. But for now, we'll sign off. Make sure to tune into the Between the Hashes podcast, hosted by Dawson, Braden, and myself, talking NFL football as we get ready for the playoffs coming up here. But for Dawson Livingston and Hunter Rose, I'm Brock Bierman. We are signing off for the week.